Many Madisonians, including me until recently, have thought that progress toward restoring limited government was possible if we could place 5 or more Madisonian justices on the Supreme Court. I still think that doing so would be a major victory. A Madisonian majority would do much to block further spread of the government's reach. But could it significantly roll back the federal government's power? No Supreme Court can do that without a change in the zeitgeist. To understand my reasons for that pessimistic conclusion, it is essential to understand the enormity of what happened to the Constitution over the 6 years from 1937 through 1942. That, in turn, requires us to take a look at how the Constitution had evolved and how much had remained unchanged between the founding and the New Deal. 1789 to 1932. Until the 1930s, the federal government remained tiny. The federal budget of 1928 totaled $38.0 billion, expressed in 2010 dollars. Today, when the media routinely express the federal budget in trillions of dollars rounded to 1 decimal place, 38 billion is literally rounding error. Of that total budget in 1928, $9.4 billion went to defense. Of non-defense spending, another $9.4 billion went to repayment of the national debt, and $9.0 billion went to pensions and the Veterans Bureau. That left $10.2 billion for everything else. All the expenses associated with the White House, the federal judiciary, Congress, and the Departments of State, Treasury, Justice, Commerce, Interior, Labor, the Post Office, and all the independent agencies of the federal government. Expressed as per capita spending in constant dollars, that $10.2 billion amounted to 1.0% of comparable per capita federal spending in 2013. Think about it. 1/100th. There's no mystery why government was still so small when FDR came into office. The Madisonian Constitution restricting the powers of the federal government was still nearly intact. The Supreme Court had been guilty of bad constitutional reasoning in the 19th century, in Scott v. Sandford, the Slaughterhouse cases, and Plessy v. Ferguson, among others. But the basis of federal authority was still tightly constrained by the provisions of the Constitution. In some ways, Americans' freedoms were better protected in 1932 than they had been when the Constitution went into effect in 1789. The 13th Amendment had rid America of slavery, the original sin that had always compromised the Constitution's moral authority, and the 14th Amendment was almost as important. Under the first 8 amendments of the Bill of Rights, Americans' constitutional rights had been protected only against infringement by the federal government. The 14th Amendment extended that protection to infringement by state and local governments, and its Due Process Clause protected a range of rights not specifically listed in the Bill of Rights, although the Supreme Court took many decades to recognize the full extent of the change. But if constitutional jurisprudence and the federal government itself were still largely Madisonian in 1932, the prevailing constitutional theory among intellectuals was not. The progressives had been making war on the founders' vision for more than 30 years.